Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Otaku Brothers channel, and today we're going to be talking about the movie Akira.
Leave me alone! Ah!
Alright, so Akira was released in 1988 by Katsuhiro Otomo. I really hope I pronounced that right. I apologize if I didn't. But anyways, yeah, it was released in 1988, and it is a movie that follows two main characters, our main boy Tetsuo and Kaneda, as they go and explore the cyberpunk world filled with, nightlife, vibrant nightlife, biker gangs, and a whole lot of supernatural activity. It's a really good movie and something that I had to watch for my film classes, actually, and I've been putting off watching this movie for so long, and I'm just so happy that I finally got to sit down and enjoy this movie for what it was. But before we get into the movie, please do make sure to subscribe if you haven't to the channel. That would be really appreciated. It would mean a lot. We love you guys so much. And 90% of y'all aren't subscribed, so please, we're trying to hit 100 by the end of the year, and we're really close. We're like at 86, 87, around there, and you guys are just been killing it, and we love you guys so much. So anyways, getting back to the review, before starting this film, I honestly did not know much about Akira. I knew that it is one of the most influential anime movies of all time, if not the most impactful, and its effects are still seen today, even, finding its way into Western movies, such as, recently in the movie Nope, that calls back to its iconic bike slide scene that is just so amazing, and it was just so great. And showing how impactful this is really, shows how big this movie is and how influential it has been, and how even coming back in 1988, it still stands the test of time even till today, because I really enjoyed watching it, and I think the animation was really good, actually. So as our movie begins, we follow our boy Tetsu and Kaneda, two members of this bike gang, with Kaneda kind of being an older brother figure to Tetsu, and them, being in this bike gang, notice how they had lack of parent figures and were just kind of left alone in this whole barren wasteland society of Neo Tokyo. Or I don't want to say barren, it just feels dirty, but it is still in the future. I think it's taking place in like 2018, I want to say, something like that, and it follows the events of after an atomic bomb went off, starting World War III. Tokyo has kind of moved on to this new technological advanced age, and it's kind of very interesting to see. And I apologize if you can hear that in the background. A train just decided to freaking ruin my recording. Anyways, yeah, like I said, I think the train stopped. Anyways, it goes back. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. So yeah, it takes place in the city called Neo Tokyo, a cyberpunk-esque world filled with, a lot of interesting characters with all incredible designs. There's different gangs. There's a clown gang, and then there's obviously Kaneda's gang, and it's just showcases a whole gritty, underbelly side of Tokyo, which was very interesting and very cool to see unwind. And like I said, going into this film, I was really unaware, and I did not know what to expect going into it. However, I was very surprised whenever I found a supernatural element to this film. I had no idea what the movie was about, and just from the movie poster alone, which is also iconic in itself, I was expecting the movie to be something of a biker gang story. However, I was completely wrong. It turns out it was more supernatural than anything, giving me, vibes of 2001: A Space Odyssey and stuff like Cyberpunk, Blade Runner 2049, things like that, that just really added to my enjoyment and a genre of film that I personally enjoy to see in movies. So like I said, as the movie begins, we see Tetsu and Kaneda racing these bikers, and with Tetsu kind of going into the other abandoned part of the city where I believe the first nuclear bomb went off, destroying the city. He is end up riding there, trying to follow these gang bikers, and as he gets there, he is reached by this sort of zombie-looking, deformed face child that he ends up touching and crashing into. And so this kind of sets up the whole plot of the movie, with these supernatural children kind of, being prominent throughout the film, and the government controlling them with no idea why or how this is happening. And it's just a very interesting, compelling story that I personally don't see a lot of films tackle, so that was really interesting and fun to watch unfold. As Tetsuo is touched by this kid, he ends up gaining supernatural abilities himself that he is no longer able to control and, understand what is going on to himself. So it's very interesting to see play out. And as this is happening, he is end up taken by the government, and Kaneda joins up with this rebels in order to try and get his buddy back. And it's a very cool dynamic. We see these two kids who have come into this, what seems like an orphanage, or just, a place with no parents, no parental figure or guidances in their life. So it's just kind of them two together, and it's very fun and exciting to see this dynamic of these two, siblings who aren't really siblings working together, and how much they care about each other to try and get back. So yeah, like I said, Kaneda joins up with this rebel group, and that's kind of a whole subplot going on of how the government and the citizens are at war. There's a lot of political themes here that I really won't get into because that's just not for the channel what I want to talk about. But it is important to notice and to see as the movie goes on throughout, and it's just something that I personally enjoy seeing. In my own separate reasons, I think that politics are very interesting, and seeing how Japan depicts their own inner issues is very interesting, and something that I don't get to see on a daily basis. And the class that I'm actually taking is focusing a lot on Asian films, so I've gotten to see a lot of how that plays out, and it's just been very interesting and fun and unique in how different it is from Western culture. So that has been very cool to see. So yeah, once we get to the government little facility, we kind of understand what is going on more. It turns out that we get into why the movie is actually called Akira in the first place, because whenever that nuclear bomb went off that caused World War III, it actually wasn't a nuclear bomb. The government just said that to calm more people down, I guess, in a way. It was actually caused by a government experience when they were trying to make a superhuman type weapon beat, and his name was Akira, and he had supernatural abilities and was able to control things. And one day he just got set off and he caused a nuclear explosion to go off, destroying a city. So yeah, that's a big issue that the government is trying to cover up and hide, and still trying to control by getting more kids involved and trying to get them to gain supernatural abilities as well. But I mean, that was really cool. I honestly thought that one of the main characters, the biker in the main poster for the movie, was actually Akira. So going into that, I was very surprised to see that Akira was this other ghostly, godly figure in the movie that I wasn't expecting. So that was a cool little plot twist for myself going into it. Moving on to the next scene that we get to, it is probably one of my favorites, and I personally enjoyed it a lot. I got a lot of horror elements in there, and it was just very creepy. The visuals were so sketchy and scary to look at. I really enjoyed it. And that scene is Tetsu in the hospital when he is approached by some of the ghost children trying to warn him and talk to him. And they take the form of these stuffed animals combining together. And it is just very scary, and accompanied of the music. The soundtrack is just so good throughout this movie. It is so fun and so, oh my God, it's just so great. So we get that scene of him in the hospital, terrified, and then they're all trying to chase him and, attack him. And then the reason that it fails is because he showcases blood and cuts himself, and it scares them, and they kind of just disappear, which was very interesting to see. It kind of sets up some ideas about why they're afraid, or what makes them afraid. And the whole reason they're doing this in the first place is because they hear that this kid Tetsu is very similar to Akira, and they know what Akira has done in the past, and that is why they're trying to stop him. And even the government says that, hey, we're going to try and control him, but if things go south instantly, we're going to kill him, like on the spot, which kind of just shows how ruthless the government is in this movie, and how unwilling they are to forgive. So yeah, it's very high stakes here and very interesting. So as we get to the second half of the movie, we kind of see Tetsu kind of gaining control more so of these powers, talking to these kids and understanding what his abilities really are. And once he gains these abilities, he kind of goes full, bright burner, if you haven't seen that movie. Basically an evil Superman type deal, and kind of just destroys the whole government facilities, tries to, get out of there and just raise havoc on the city, ending up going back to his home city and destroying the bar where he would hang out with his buddies, killing the head bartender, and scaring a few of his friends, his old biker gang friends, even injuring a couple of them on the way, which was very sad to see, and just shows how this supernatural ability has corrupted him, and also changed his morals deeply from where he's gone. And I don't even want to say changed, maybe just kind of amplified them, because he's kind of seen as this kid who is alone and just the weakest of the biker gang, and just hasn't really proved himself, and just the little brother, right? So it's interesting to see how that dynamic and ego plays into his abilities, and it'd be interesting to see if somebody like Kaneda ended up having these powers, how it would affect him. So that was just something I thought was an interesting observation there. So once Tetsu escapes the government facility and gets out and starts raining havoc. It is very cool. The visuals are stunning in this film. So many bright colors, especially in the opening sequence, which we talked about earlier. But yeah, the opening sequence just showcases the city perfectly. Such an amazing opening scene that I'm just going all over the place with this movie review, but anyways, yeah, you guys can just have fun, sit along. So yeah, like I said, the opening just has so many beautiful colors and visuals, and that kind of just plays on throughout the movie. I do think that the opening scene is incredible, establishing the setting of the film and just introducing us to the characters and the mood and the vibe of the whole film is just so is it's executed perfectly and something that I enjoyed seeing throughout the film. But yeah, like I said, once Tetsu escapes the government facility, he breaks out and just goes on a rampage, destroying many people. And it turns out that Akira is actually a known person throughout this Neo Tokyo and is seen as something of a god in a way that is coming to save them and become their savior. So once he is attacking the city and attacking the government, some of the citizens notice and see this as Akira's second coming and just attach the idea and ideology that this is their new god. And it kind of just shows how people are starting to worship these ideas and latch onto hope in any way that they can in this destroyed, broken world that is controlled by this tyrant government that is controlling them. It's very ruthless. That is kind of seen in the main governor. I forgot. I think it's the general kind of role that he has throughout the film. So interesting to see how the people latch onto that idea as well. And once he is attacking the city, the children try and stop him and fell, but he does find out that Akira is still kind of alive. He is just frozen in, this kind of cryogenetic sleep, and his body is like separated. His spinal cord, his like brain, his stuff like that, and his eyes, they're all kind of separated in these like fluid capsules. So he goes to the Olympic Stadium and sets him free and attempts to set him free. And this is where we get another awesome scene of him in the chair when his his crush meets him there, and they just kind of talk. And this is kind of where he comes back down to reality, and it's very sad to see. He ends up getting there to the Olympic Stadium, and he's there sitting in this sort of throne, and we can see his arm gets cut off, and we see that all these wires and cords come out of his arm and connect to the ground, showing the kind of other theme of this movie, which I believe is the fear of technology and AI and technological advancement in general. It's very prominent throughout the film that how far technology has come and has led to stuff like the atom bombs, the sort of supernatural child experiments, which have also led to bombs, and just a whole bunch of pain and suffering in general throughout the movie and throughout real life. So I think that is a big theme throughout the movie, that it's something that gets touched on a lot. So once we see these cords and wires come out of him, he fears that this supernatural ability that he could control that did make him a tyrant is also now, he's also not in control of it anymore, therefore making him a servant to it and just a body to be used as a weapon, which is kind of what the government wanted, but not in this way. So once that happens, he's there. He meets the general and Kaneda, who ends up fighting Tetsu. Kaneda kind of has this realization. He's like, "Dude, what are you doing? This isn't you." And Tetsu's like, "Oh no, this is me now. I'm a villain. You never treated me right. I hated you." So we kind of get this sad little disconnect between them two, and they end up fighting. In a great scene, he has this laser gun that he ends up pointing at Tetsu, and they fight. And it was just a very cool scene in general. However, this is where we get to the weird part of the movie. Tetsu is not able to control his powers, like I said, and ends up becoming this giant, random, kind of morph Play-Doh thing of like just a bunch of parts, and is very disgusting, of wires and motherboard circuits, all this type of deal, and flesh, and just gross. It's I forgot what the term is. Like it's like in Rick and Morty when that like their whole universe becomes destroyed and they all become those like weird little monster things. It's basically that. I forgot what the name is of that. Oh my god, I feel like such an idiot. But that thing, and pretty much once that happens, he ends up begin morphing into this like weird higher form. He's not actually able to revive Akira in any way. However, or actually he is, I think. I think that's how it goes, right? Yeah, he ends up bringing back Akira, and I think they kind of merge into some sort of thing. I hope I'm remembering this right, but it's a very confusing scene. The final like act of this movie is a mind trip, to be sure. So if I am misinterpreting it, then please, I'm sorry. It's a very confusing movie, and I watched it like a week ago, so I should have done a little bit more research, to be fair. But yeah, so he ends up becoming this giant morph thing, and they end up releasing Akira, and it doesn't work in the way they thought it would. He kind of morphs and becomes this new born monster that ends up becoming a newborn baby in a way. It shows that whenever he's like morphing into that monster, he kind of takes the form of a child, a little baby. And it's very interesting to see the implications of what that actually means. Maybe it's becoming new life. You're getting free of these, this cage that you were in and starting new again. And once we see this happening, he ends up merging, and it kind of creates another bomb that's going to go off in the city. So as the bomb is getting ready to, ignite, we see it starting to glow and become like white and just grow, and it's signifying that the bomb's going off, and it slowly is happening, and we see Kaneda go in to rescue Tetsu into the bomb, which was very sad and very, unique and interesting to see, as Kaneda still loves his best friend. This is still Tetsu, who is younger brother, who he sees as a younger brother, go into this bomb to try and save Tetsu. And we see the main children, supernatural kids, go into the bomb and sacrifice their lives in order to save Kaneda, as Kaneda didn't do anything wrong. He was there to just see his young brother get saved and to get help. So the young supernatural kids sacrifice themselves going into the bomb explosion and kind of TPing Kaneda out of this whole environment, away from the bomb explosion, into safety. And then we get an interesting scene. We go into the bomb and we see the merging memories that Tetsuya is experiencing with Akira. He sees Akira getting, first created, and how he excelled as a supernatural being and got to experience these immense powers that then eventually get out of control. And it ends in a beautiful way by saying, "I am Tetsu." As Tetsu says those words, kind of speaking to what I believe the main point of this movie is, or not main point, but the main ending means. It seems that Tetsu and Akira merging kind of neutraled each other out and ascended them to a new reality, a new universe, if you will, where it seems like the three supernatural kids are also going as well, to a place where they won't be able to hurt anyone, and almost in a way ascending to heaven, it seems, and just getting to a new plane of reality that is able to sustain them and just be better for them in general. It takes them away. Tetsu is gone from this universe. He is just completely removed from it, and it's a very sad ending. It's not a happy one at all. The city is destroyed. Tetsu is gone, and although they stopped the threat of Akira and the government, it's still sad. I mean, they still lost their best friend, and a whole city that they loved. Even if it wasn't the best, it was their home, right? So it is still a sad ending, and I just think it was a very beautiful movie overall. It's just a very interesting movie that I feel like a lot of films are afraid to do nowadays. I feel like sci-fi is a genre that is kind of dying in a way. Not dying, but it's just not nearly as big as it once was back in this time of the 80s and 90s. And it's just very sad to see, because I think it offers so much and has so much stuff that is able to add to movies that a lot of other movies are afraid to play with, I feel. And this movie is a testament that it is possible to make good movies. And I mean, the fact that I didn't even know it was a supernatural movie says a lot. I mean, right? Akira is one of the most renowned and influential anime movies of all time, and I didn't even know that it was a supernatural movie. That's how little like they emphasize it in everything else. So I just think that it's important to, see what this movie has done for film cinema in general, not just in anime, not just in, Western um, cinema, but just cinema in general. I think it is very important for viewing for anyone who is interested in movies and would like to learn about history. Like I said, it's beautiful, very beautiful. The visuals, soundtrack, the dialogue, it's just all great, and it's a very fun watch. So I highly recommend this movie if you guys have not seen it. Very good, very fun, very enjoyable. 10 out of 10 would recommend. See you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.